Joe Askren here with drjoebrews.com. This next brewery neural download was done here at Big Top Brewing. They have a few different locations. This is in front of their new Fruitville Commons space. I met up with head brewer Josh Wilson over at the Big Top Brewers Collective in Lakewood Ranch. He's going to enlighten us with some hands-on best practices with keg washing and keg filling. We'll also be joined by Zach on the keg filling. Let's go check it out.
Hey everyone, we're at Big Top Brewery today. We got Josh Wilson, head brewer and owner of Big Top. These guys adopted us about 10 years ago plus at USF. We've walked in here several times at all their multiple locations, and we're just lucky to be a part of what they do. They share just some incredible knowledge with us. Josh, what are you going to show us today?
So today we're going to do some best practice on kegging, ways to keep the kegging going clean, reduce your DO, dissolved oxygen, so that way you have the best product.
Fantastic, that's important. That's a final product, right? So let's get into it, Josh. Awesome.
All right.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
There we go. That's it. All right, so but we're kegging beer today at Big Top. So before they start kegging beer, we got to clean the kegs, right?
Clean the kegs, correct.
Right, Josh? So what's going on? How do you guys do that here?
So with this system right here, basically what it does is it cleans the keg. So we'll use air to purge out anything that might be in there. It could have been old beer, stale beer, hot water rinse. And then there's also going to be a caustic cycle. So the caustic cycle go through to make sure that all the inside is clean through the spear. It's hooked up the same way you would if you were just filling a keg or if you were going to serve a keg. So by doing that, the inside of the coupler is the same way it is for the filling. There's not a ball there, so it allows it to go both ways so it can fill and shoot out. So this will go through a stage of cleaning and also sanitation. So after all the caustic's been done, pushes out, then it goes through a sanitation stage, and then when all that is done, we'll do a CO2 purge, and that's what goes and makes sure that keg is ready to be filled with that CO2 purge, which we were seeing when we were going ahead and fill them.
Fantastic. When Big Top first opened, did you have something like this, or was it done differently?
So one of the first pieces of equipment we ever got was actually the keg cleaning thing. It was actually delivered to my house. That was the first piece, and it's kind of funny because that's the number one. That's like the first picture we posted on our Big Top, I guess, website back in the day was Mike, Seth, me, and Johnny in my garage with our keg washer. That was our first piece of equipment.
That's great, man. I mean, because you spend all that time and money on making the beer. I mean, cleaning is of just high priority. So that's
there's a lot of manual keg cleaners you can do, but this definitely has everything set up so we can adjust pressure, we can adjust time, we can adjust cleaning cycle, we can adjust the purge depending on what we need to do. So it's a great piece of equipment, actually.
So the stages, you said hot water, some sort of caustic?
There's like a hot water stage, pushes it out.
Okay.
There'll be a caustic. There's actually going to be like a cooler ambient water. And then there's going to be a sanitation one. And then you'll have the purge of the CO2.
Gotcha. Is the sanitation just similar to like the phosphoric acid star
pretty much, yeah.
Okay. Fantastic. Excellent. So a very important step. So now we're going to go over and we're going to see how they keg the beer. And what are we kegging today again?
Today we're going to keg hazy.
The hazy IPA. Fantastic. All right, Josh. So let's go over and check that out. So what do we got going on here, Josh?
So right now we're going ahead and kegging. So we're doing the hazy. So there's a couple things they like to do. One, they want to make sure they're clarified. So they double check the clarification before we keg to verify that's done. They also use a Zamenagel to ensure that we have the right PSI based on what we want to have for the feel of this beer. And this is just our little rack system we have set up and what we do. But we have the hoses going down so it goes through. You can still see the filter on the beer that's going into it. At the same time, you hear a little bit of that gas release, and that's the pre-purged CO2 that was in the keg to keep down the dissolved oxygen. And what these little things here do, they kind of help tell us when the keg is full, but it also allows us to know that every keg is the same amount.
Awesome. So are you doing like 4 kegs at once?
Right now he is doing 4 kegs at once.
So he's just purging with CO2 right now?
Not purging, so that's the CO2 that's coming out of the pre-purged keg. So when we clean the kegs, we go ahead and purge them with CO2 so that we can keep the dissolved oxygen out of there. So that way when you're filling up, the beer is coming through, and even though the beer has got carbonation in it, it's still throwing that extra air out, so that allows the beer to fill up. Otherwise, you would never have it. It would be in equilibrium the entire time. This right here is like a little bleeder valve. So when the keg starts getting full, this little I guess say flotation device is going to go up and pretty much just kind of bob a little bit and let us know. But yeah, you have to still have the kegs purged out with CO2 to make sure there's no dissolved oxygen. But just like anything else, if you're trying to fill the keg up, if you still have that CO2 on there, it's never going to go anywhere. So by that CO2 releasing and the beer going in, it allows you to fill the keg up. Fantastic. Otherwise, it would still be a pressure down on it.
So essentially, so CO2 is heavier than oxygen?
Pretty much.
That's pushing out. So we do have flow of beer coming into here, and it's just pushing, it's filling up from the bottom and pushing out the CO2. Is that
yes,
what's going
it
on?
is filling up from the bottom. So
Gotcha.
It's the same spear. It has like another little ball on it to push it down, so that way we can get it in. But yeah, it fills from the bottom and pushes up. And you also want to do it at a pretty even speed, so that way you don't over push it and cause too much foaming.
Right on. And how long did this beer take, this ale?
As far as the fermentation,
Yeah, from start to finish, when you actually started brewing
what's
it?
it have on there, Zach, for the fermentation process? So this one was brewed on the 21st. De-rest on the 24th, carbed on the 3rd.
Right on. I was in here a while back, and I remember you had your whole team working on the kegs. You were putting in new,
Oh, so we were redoing the spears.
redoing all the spears, right?
So over time, there needs to be some keg maintenance too, because that is pretty much your only protection on your beer. So when it's out in the market, this is all we can rely on. So yeah, we had some seals that were going on the kegs. It just happened to warp, and what happens over time, they release, and beer can actually start to come out of them. So we stripped them all down, took them all apart, and did a little spear keg party.
Yeah, and that's versus going out and just buying new kegs.
Yes,
It's
buying
a
new
huge
kegs.
cost
Yeah, it
savings.
is a huge cost, and especially you think about the amount of kegs and how many we purchased over the years.
Yeah.
You got to maintain those and take care of them because that's your product. So once it leaves here, we rely on the rest of the bars, restaurants, and everybody to take care of these kegs for us. So if we make sure they're the best they can be out in the market for what we can do, then we can ensure that that's going to give a good product to the customer.
Absolutely. So step one is just really taking care and making sure you have good kegs, number one.
Oh, you want to make sure you
properly
do the
working.
right cleaning on them. You want to make sure you do the right purging. You want to make sure you take care of them.
Right on. Anything that could go wrong here during this process that's happened before, or that you've corrected, or is it pretty simple?
It is pretty simple. I mean, the things that can go wrong, obviously, if you've got too much CO2 going at one time, pushing it, you could go too fast. You could actually foam up the beer.
Gotcha.
If it isn't the right temperature, that's another problem that could be. So that's going to fill up the beer. It would be warmer, so you're going to get foam. So the biggest problem really would be having, I guess you could say, irregular filling times, and then filling the keg, you think it's full, but it's actually not, but it's full of foam. So you could actually do that wrong. So you want to make sure it's all taken care of. And you can tell from the keg by just touching it, like where it's at. So if you put your hand down here, you can feel that it's cold, and as it goes up, you can feel where it's been pushing it out.
Oh yeah, definitely. So proper temperature of the beer going in, and are these kegs chilled before they come out?
They're not chilled before,
Gotcha.
no.
So, but proper temperature of the beer itself, and then proper PSI.
PSI, flow,
That's-
everything,
yeah.
and just making sure that you take care of it. And you can do that a lot of times by just throttling these lockups, sometimes the things. And when they get down to the last few kegs, they'll take the octopus down and they'll do one keg at a time. That way because you don't want to put 4 on, not have the same amount of beer. The next you know, you got 4 kegs only filled that tall.
Exactly.
So you want to make sure it's all taken care of so it's even.
So you do probably a quick calculation of what's in the fermenter after you probably dumped or harvested yeast.
Yeah, Zach would have done that.
Yeah, and then that way you kind of have an idea of how many kegs you might need to fill. Okay.
Correct.
I just
And then
did
they
some
also
math.
they have to worry about too, if it's canning, how much are we kegging off, how much are we going to can, so all those numbers have to be taken into account.
Yeah, I've homebrewed and I brewed with the students on a small scale, and that's a pretty simple calculation. It's a much bigger lift here with the math that's involved in calculating how many gallons are in here, how many kegs you're going to have, or cans you're going to fill.
These guys are pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, they get it factored out really great.
And what's the PSI does it depend on the beer you have?
So you obviously have a different set, but most PSI, I think you got yours at what time right now? So this is about 12. So
12
you wouldn't
PSI.
want to go too far above that because you don't want to over pressurize the tank going through as,
Right.
as it's pushing.
So around 12-ish for the what's on the fermenter there. And then if it's obviously higher than that, that's where you're going to get into that problem. You said
So
about
you can
it
have
foaming.
that problem, and if it's too low too. I mean, we have a problem when it gets too low, then you don't have it pushing out fast enough. So.
Interesting. Fantastic. Great stuff. So how many how many barrels is this right here?
So this one is a 30 barrel.
We got a 30 barrel fermenter here. So that's about 60 kegs. Maybe.
Cut and minus. I mean, when it comes to hazy beer without a centrifuger, you're going to lose some of that because of the trube and obviously some of the hops coming out.
Zach, man, you're the pro here. So what's going on here?
Filling all these kegs, so we got some positive pressure on the tank. We're releasing the pressure on these kegs, and so it just naturally flows into the kegs. Once they fill up, the beer floats up to the top and hits that little floaty ball, which cuts it off so it won't fill anymore.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay.
It can still fill a little bit. So then this is the valve where the beer's going in. So
Excellent.
it's kind of the opposite of how the beer gets dispensed in a tap room.
That's great.
So we've taken out the little floaty ball that's in there to keep the beer from going in the keg. So now it can go into the keg, goes through the spear and fills up. And then we can release this. And then this is also a valve that controls this side. So when we release that, the beer drops out, the ball falls to the bottom. Now we're able to go over to the next one.
It's that simple, huh?
Yep.
Wow.
I like to start them a little bit slow. And so now it's releasing the pressure here. And then when we turn this valve, the beer starts flowing down through the spear and filling from the bottom.
Right on.
And it's gassing off here.
So you said the ball was removed on these kegs?
In these couplers.
In the coupler,
yeah.
okay.
So when you do in like a tap room and you're dispensing, there's a backflow preventer in there, so the beer can only come out of the keg. It can't flow back into the keg.
And what's this? This is interesting. What's this device called right here that kind of tells you when it's filled up?
I forget what these are called. This one's made by GW Kent, and it's I call them like float stoppers.
There we go.
And yeah, once the beer comes all the way up, it gets there and fills them.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so you're not guessing. You're just swapping it from the from
these
the full
ones,
keg to the empty keg.
Sometimes if we're in a hurry, we'll put on a different system where we don't have this stopper, and you just fill a little faster. You get a little bit more foam, but these kegs can technically have quite a bit of headspace on them.
Excellent, man. Excellent. Yeah, so this is the process, like multitasking. I've talked to other brewers and Josh too. Multitasking is what you're doing all day long.
Yeah.
So, but this is something you can kind of just keep an eye on, and as
Yeah,
you're doing
these are
other
real
things.
nice because you can walk away from them. Yep.
Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, worst case, it'll just stop flowing.
Yep, and we got the regulator set for the pressure going into the tank, so it can't get higher than like 14 PSI.
That's excellent. Fantastic. Are you canning any of this beer?
Not off
That's
of
in
this
here?
tank. Sometimes we will. Sometimes we'll can like half of it and keg the rest. Sometimes we'll can the whole thing. Sometimes we'll just keg the whole thing. This one we're just kegging today. We've done 48 slims and 5 halves so far, so we're expecting to get another maybe 25 halves out of it. Probably around 27 barrels yield.
So whatever you're doing here with the keg, it just depends on what you need in inventory, whether you need cans or kegs or, okay. Right on.
Yeah, we'll check our inventory periodically and then determine what we want to do with the beer. And the guys do the same thing for brewing, you know, to determine what they want to brew, kind of plot it out a couple months in advance.
Awesome. Awesome. Thanks, Zach. Appreciate it.
Thanks so much to Josh and Zach. I encourage you to visit Big Top at one of their locations. You won't be disappointed. As you watched in the video, using proper technique and understanding the science not only makes good beer, but also makes good business sense. Check out more hands-on neural downloads on my YouTube page and drjoebrews.com. Also search USF Brewing Arts to find out more about our certificate program. Go Bulls!